please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Well, we are now joined by Sudhakar Tomar, who's MD Hakka Negro. He's also associated with the Global Pulses Federation. Sudhakar, hi, thank you so much for joining us. You know that clearly the theme is about budget, and you work in India, within India, outside as well. What is the sense that you have taken here, especially belonging to an agriculture space?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. We are very happy with the continuation of government policies, which is agri and rural centric. We feel for a country with 68% of people depending on agriculture, this is a very welcome step, and especially so now with the 50% increase in over MSP, it will stop being from a suggestion price to a support price. So this is a very good thing, and this will send the right signal to the farmers to grow the produce which we need in India very much. And other than that, I feel in the long term also other schemes which have been introduced by the government in terms of be it Kisan Credit Card or the irrigation or health insurance.
So how are you rating it in sense of schemes?
Well, I feel
on a scale of 10 maybe.
On a scale for 10, if I were to comment on agri and rural development centric, I would do it definitely 7.5 to 8.
And implementation?
Implementation is always the key for any policy. I feel implementation wise, I think we have a very limited time now, pretty much good 1 year. But I feel that the intent is very genuine, and the policies now, the right policy framework is in place, and there is no way for this. We all have to understand, we have to change also our psychology, that there is no way but to remunerate the farmer more than what we really feel fit, think. So I feel everything is being done in the right step.
So, you know, going forward from here for the next 1 year, which are the key points? Because there have been 10 or 15 areas which the government has talked about. Which are the top 3 priority that you think the government will have to, you know, work on as an urgent basis?
I think the first thing is to remunerate the farmer with the right value. Second point is to have the linkages, which is very important, that the farmer should have the right opportunity to sell his produce at the best possible price. And the third thing is digitalization, that we have to include the technology in all the aspects of the farming. These 3 things, if we can target in short term, I think that will be the winner.
You know, this government, or any other government for that matter, always gets jittery when you see the prices of a commodity rise up. That leads to inflation, and that has led to more than often banning or suspending of agriculture commodity trade in the derivative markets as well. This time the government was on a back foot because we saw the commodity prices declining. So how do you see the government balancing it out from the producers and the consumers?
I think for any country, not only for India, government has a very tough objective set out to have the right and affordable price to the consumers. At the same time, especially for a country where 7 out of 10 people are dependent on agriculture, to give them the right remuneration, only then they'll be encouraged to grow something to feed all 10 people. So this is it's a very tight balance which they need to walk. But we as consumers also have to realize that food, good food, non-toxic food is not going to be cheaper ever. So we have to have this mindset to spend a little bit more for the food. Once this mindset comes, I think that will be the winner.
Also, apart from that, how have you seen pulses? Because you are closely associated with that. The way we've seen all-time highs and then prices go 40% below MSP in a matter of 3 years, how do the producers really live with that kind of price volatility?
So as far as producers are concerned outside, India is a very big market for global producer of pulses. But at the same time, if you have noticed since 2016, when the International Year of Pulses was declared by United Nations with the support of Global Pulse Confederation, there are many versatile usage of pulses which have come out. So you'll be surprised that more than 6,000 brands are being launched on pulses outside India. Okay. which is the mother and the birthplace of all things pulses. So you will see innovative usage of lasagna, pasta, noodles, yellow pea flavored milk, pet foods. So some amazing diversity in the usage of pulses is happening now. So base is widening, but at the same time, India being the major market, it does send a bearish or bullish signal to the producing market depending on the market. So current year, there is oversupply in India. There's also buffer stocks. So the 2018 is going to be relatively quite a year.
So we are not going to look at higher commodity prices or higher pulses prices in this year as well as what you're saying.
2018 is going to be relatively calmer and more stable. Yeah.
Okay. While we talk about agriculture is a huge area, starting right from the producer to pre-harvesting, post-harvesting, inputs, warehousing. There's just so much happening there. But what are those three, again, that seems to be my favorite number today, what are the three key areas in the whole supply chain which needs to be really pushed right?
I think in order to give the right price to the producer, farmer that is, and to the consumer, the more efficient is the supply chain. There is no reason that we have to waste 1/3 in the supply chain in terms of food loss and wastage. Also in terms of linkages, there is no way why a consumer you cannot order your pulses directly on your app, directly linked to the farmer. And the third thing is we are not talking much about this subject, the increasing level of toxicity in food. Okay. That is very important, and that is something which we don't see now, but the long-term impacts in say 20-30 years time they're visible. So these three things are the key priority for any company who's in food supply chain. And
what crops are those which are crying for immediate attention right now? Because while of course we are import dependent for many of those, whatever we are producing in India also is not of the proper quality, or the yields are not proper, is something that the markets have been fighting for the longest time.
I think anything, talking in terms of specifically for India, anything where we import, we know the work is cut out. Those are the things we have to look at: oil seeds, pulses, wheat and sugar. Yeah, these are the key crops that we have to pay.
So when we talk about doubling farmers' income by 2022, of course there's a roadmap that has been put in by Niti Aayog. FM spoke about on how there is more work that needs to be done to pave the road forward. But how do you see India achieving that?
I think doubling the farmers' income is a very relevant and noble task. In fact, if you really talk, because I've been closely associated with the rural background, so maybe not double it. I would like this income to be 5 times, because the kind of income level at which the subsistence farming is happening in India is just appalling. So that has to improve. But of course, it's also a big challenge when we're talking about 700 million people depend on agriculture. But we have to take many steps, slowly but surely, and I think all the steps which are happening right now in terms of either Bhavantar or increasing MSP or government procurement for pulses, everything is happening in the right direction. It's just that if we can have a policy which is more long-term, so that all the components of supply chain, value chain can prepare themselves to participate, whether it be distribution, value addition, processing, that will have a long-term impact instead of having quick fixes for the policy.
So, you really seem to be coming out with very forward-looking, future-looking policy arrangements right now. When we talk about value addition at the farmers level, because that's yet another thing that has come in many papers, Niti Aayog papers to be very relevant, on how it shouldn't be seen just as an agri-product or a commodity. There should be something more to add. Do you think the farmers are equipped for that? Because here we seem to be fighting with the very basic debt in their concern, and then value addition, food processing, contract farming. Do you see that going much sooner than as we see it right now?
Right now, a very large population, especially agri population, is not equipped for this challenge. But if we have the right kind of infrastructure investment at the village level, at the rural level, which can be encouraged by giving various schemes, incentives, once that setup is available at the rural level, especially in those states which are not doing very well compared to other states, that will allow two things. First, it will reduce the food wastage and loss which happens in the supply chain, especially at the pre and post harvest level, and also whatever we lose in the supply chain. So yes, the good quality, effective investment in infrastructure at the village level, it can be in a P2P kind of partnership between the government and the private sector. That is something which will be a good idea. And also we need to again look at our cooperative system. That's an amazing model, especially for a country like India, which has fragmented and asymmetric ownership of the land. If we can look at that model again, but this time manage it efficiently and also with the proper governance, I think that is going to be another winner for us scheme of things.
Point taken. One final question, and this one I really want to ask about, is the Farmer Producer Association. The FPOs really seem to be catching up. There are some which are doing great work, but there are some which are only on paper. So we understand that the farmer as a community is very fragmented. Do you see FPOs as a way going forward, because they can participate, they can be heard more easier?
Yes, as long as both the partners know what is expected of each other, it's a win-win situation, and they should be serving a relevant need, not just for the sake of association, but it should eventually serve a purpose. We are in economic sense, it should serve a purpose.
Well, of course, everything needs to serve a purpose. Thank you so much, Sudhakar, for joining us. And that is the view coming in from our experts, really, that we are making right noises in right direction. The intent is good, as I said earlier as well, but it really is about implementation, giving it much more than we stand right now. And the time is, of course, quite limited. And that is something that the government and, of course, all stakeholders will have to keep in mind. That's all the time that we have on Commodity Champions for you today. Thank you so much for watching.